Hey y'all, and welcome to Monner's Market, and welcome to the Vintage Lavender Farmhouse Series number 2. Now, if you saw Series number 1 last week, this is just an overflow, and like I said last week, I don't know how many I am going to do in this series, but for now, I'm looking at probably 3 or 4 because I'm going to redo my entire bathroom. So I decided to make me some of these little a beaded garland, and I've made one previously for Easter that was sort of like pastel rainbow colors, and I loved it. So what I did is I just took my pipe cleaners, because that worked so well to put your beads on to be able to paint them. So I took 3 pipe cleaners and put 6 beads on each pipe cleaner, and then I went in, and you know, if you watch number 1, that the theme is lavender, and I'm using my Ivory Waverly chalk paint. And excuse me. So I do my Ivory Waverly chalk paint for 6 of them, or for 1 strand, and then I use this crushed velvet by Apple Barrel to do 6 more. And then in just a second, you're going to see me mix those 2 together to get that light lavender color that I finished the other 6 off in. And I love this color combination. I thought it turned out so pretty, and it was exactly like I wanted it inside my head. You know, a lot of times you get this idea inside your head, and the way it turns out is not the same as what you had it pictured. But for this little beaded garland, it did turn out absolutely perfect. So I took the lavender color and I finished off my 6 other beads, and then you take your twine, and if you've never made these before, you need the tip end of your twine to have a little bit of substance to it. So I just wrap a little bit of tape around it, and then I start beading with the dark purple, the lavender, and the ivory. And then I take this farmhouse lace ribbon and make the tip end of my beaded garland, the end that you would hold it with, and then I just simply put a tassel at the other end, and I'll show you how I make the tassel in just a second. But I didn't do any kind of tag or anything on this garland because it's just going to be sitting on a tray in my bathroom. So I take my twine and I just wrapped it several times, I think like 30 times maybe, around an old phone case that I found. I slide it off the phone case, keeping it open in the middle. And then I took another smaller piece of twine and tied it right around the middle, tied it into a knot. And once I got that done, I went down probably about 1/4 of an inch and tied another piece of twine on there to make that little head, or the top that you would see on a tassel. So I make my little tassel and then tie that second piece on, and then I find my middle and then take my scissors and cut it right in half. Now it should be fairly even when you cut it like this, but you will have to trim it up and give it a little haircut and make it really even across the bottom. And then once I got that done, I took the tassel and just tied it on to the other end of my beaded garland. And other than putting a little bow, a lace bow on it, that's all I did. And it's that simple and easy to make. Now, for DIY number 2, I don't know what in the world happened, but I lost the footage to me painting the 2 things that I'm using. So what I'm going to be using is one of the candlesticks, the glass candlesticks that you can get from the Dollar Tree, and then a glass candle holder that's always in the floral section of every Dollar Tree I've ever been in. It's just a little glass stand, or some might consider it a glass plate. But I must have deleted that footage by accident, and I'm so sorry that I'm going to have to skip over that part. But regardless, it is what it is, and this is where we're at. I painted it with my ivory chalk paint, and I printed this little image. And in my first video, if you saw it, you heard me say that I just Googled free lavender printables, or free lavender farmhouse printables, or something like that. and it just pulls up a whole bunch of different lavender themed pictures, and I just picked the ones that I liked the most. And this is the one that I picked for this little tray. So what I do is I take my little pitcher and get a little cup of water, and I wet my fingers, and I just go all around the edge of the pitcher, wetting it just on the edge. And then you go back once it's been wet for a minute, or a few seconds really, and you just start tearing away at it. And you're just barely tearing enough to sort of fray the edges. So once I get the edges torn away or frayed, whatever terminology you want to use, I then go in with some coffee grains. And this is where I get my vintage feel and vintage look from. Now, I could have used Waverly wax or any array of other things to distress it with, but I have, for 3 videos now, this is the 3rd one, been using this coffee to distress my items, and I have fallen in love with this method. Now, it's messy, and you're going to have coffee everywhere, and your fingers are going to be brown, but you can always wear gloves, and you can be a cleaner crafter than I am. I'm a messy crafter, as I've said before, but it is what it is. But anyway, so I take and pinch off the little areas around it, get my coffee grains and distress it all over, and then I take my fingers and wet them, dip them in the coffee, and distress the plate and the candlestick too. Now, some people may refer to this as a stand or a plate, but either way, it's something that you can find in the candle section that you set your candle on. And it worked perfect to make the top of this little tier tray. And it's not very big. It's probably only about 5 or 6 inches around, but it's just the cutest little tray that'll be perfect in the evenings once I go to step in the shower to take my earrings and necklaces or whatever off and set it on top of it until I put them back in the spot that they belong. So once I get everything ready with my little pitcher and get it distressed, I take my finger, dip it down in the water and the coffee, and distress my plate and my candlestick, and I take my Gorilla Glue and hot glue and put them together. Then I take some Mod Podge and glue the little pitcher onto the top of the stand, and then I go over the entire stand with some Mod Podge to just give it a good seal and a final finish. And that is it. And that's all there was to making this little stand, and I just fell in love with it. It's just adorable, and it will go perfect with the rest of my vintage lavender theme. So make sure you leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think about this. And as soon as I see your comment, I will comment back. And I'll tell you a funny story about comments in just a second. But for right now, I want to show you DIY number 3. So for DIY number 3, I'm making this tag sign that you can get from the Dollar Tree. And it comes in an Easter theme. You can get it in either one of these. Now, I have 2 here that I'm preparing because I did the first one in series 1 video, and then I'm obviously going to do the second one in this video here, and it's sort of a matching set. So I actually cleaned the paper off of that, and that's why you see it looks a little wet at the bottom, because I had a hard time getting that paper off, and I just wet it a little bit, and it ended up coming right off after that. So I take my ivory paint, which is the theme, give it a really good heavy coat of the ivory paint. Once I got it painted good, I took my dryer, my little heat gun, to dry it, because I am so lacking in the patient area. It's ridiculous. Like, I have no patience whatsoever. Get it good and dry. And then I take this picture right here. And I always show you these pictures upside down. I don't know why I do that. Every single picture I show y'all is always upside down. So anyway, I cut it out and I get it ready. And I prepared this picture just like I prepared the other picture on the little stand. I take my fingers, I wet them, and I go around the paper and get it wet. And then I just kind of pinch off the edges until it's got that little tattered and torn look to it. And then I take my coffee grounds And same deal. I go around the paper with the coffee grounds and even smudge on top of the paper some with the coffee grounds. And then I do the entire sign by taking water, mixing it with the coffee grounds, and just like distressing the whole thing. Then I take Mod Podge and I will Mod Podge the picture down just like I did on the little plate, and then cover the whole entire picture in the Mod Podge like you see there. Oh no, actually I'm distressing it there. But you'll see me give it one good sealing, a coat to seal it, and just like a final finish, if you will. And once I get that done, I will make a swag for it. Oh, and then I grabbed my beads because I was like, you know what? Everything's distressed but my beads. So I grabbed my beads while I had everything out and distressed my beads a little bit. So anyway, I got to tell you this about the comments real quick. I have always said in every single video, leave me a comment and I will comment you back. Well, honey, let me tell you something. I discovered an app for YouTube that I've had downloaded since I started my channel a few months ago, but I've never really used it. Well, guess what? I have missed so stinking many of y'all's comments. I was so embarrassed. I like to have died, because every single video you hear my loud mouth saying, leave me a comment and I'll be sure to comment you back. Child, if I had $1 for every comment I missed, I could pay my car rent this year. My car note this month. I'm messing all up. I need to just chill out. I'm getting too excited. Anyway, I did take some twine and put around the bottom of that picture and made my little swag out of this beautiful lavender that was the theme in the first series #1. And you will see that throughout the series of however many I end up putting in this little collaboration that I'm doing. But as far as the commenting goes, I am so sorry if I ever missed one of your comments. I promise you it was not that I seen it and read it and just did not answer you back. It's that I truly, truly did not see it. I answered as many as I could last night when I found that out, and apologized heavily to everybody. But I believe there's probably going to be a few more if I go all the way down to the beginning of my videos. But anyway, once I get my swag done and put on there, I'm done. And then I go back and put the little bow that I talked about a few minutes ago on my beads. Now, I cut my daggum lace too short, but instead of taking it off and throwing that piece away or whatever, I just flipped it over and looped it over and hot glued it. And you couldn't even tell the difference. It really, truly looked like it had been tied into a bow like that. So I had to get a little creative there with that. But I just wanted to finish up that little tassel right there. Looked a little bit sloppy. Now this is DIY #4, and I absolutely love this tray. You can get this tray from the Dollar Tree. And like I said, I will link it down below. Same deal. I give it the ivory paint, get it all painted up, and take my little picture that I've got printed out and distress it, cut it down, distress around the edges. And same deal, same thing that I do, same method I did with the other two things and the other video if you ended up watching that. I will leave a link to that video down below so that if you didn't see it, you can go back and watch it, because it's got some really pretty stuff in there. But this is just a little jewelry tray or perfume. I can set perfume on it. I don't know what I'll end up setting on it, but I'll definitely show it to you once I get my bathroom refinished. I'm going to do a big reveal for my bathroom. But for $1, come on. Look at the transformation of this shiny silver platter. And then when I get through with it, it just looks like this old vintage piece of art. And I think this is probably, as simple as it is, probably one of my favorite pieces. And look at it. How easy was that? I think it took me 10 minutes to do this whole thing. Now, that's not counting my drying time for my paint, obviously. But it's just so super simple and easy. And that coffee did not let me down. it made it look real old and dingy. And look at that, y'all. I love it. I love it. And it's going to go so pretty with everything. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a little vignette of everything that I did this week together. And then I'm going to put it all together and show you series 1 and series 2 together, so you can see kind of where I'm at in my decorations. Now, I have a huge master bath, so it's going to take quite a few things to fill it up. So like I said, that's why I'm saying there's probably going to be 3 or 4, maybe even 5 videos to this whole deal here. But anyway, I'm going to hush now and just let you enjoy watching what I have done for series 1 and 2. Again, thank you for coming. If you're not already subscribed, reach down and click that little subscribe button and hit that bell for all, so that you know every time I upload, especially if you like this lavender series. And then that way you'll know when I add more to this series. But either way, leave me a big thumbs up and a comment, and I promise at some point, sometime down the road, I will answer your comments. I got to laugh to keep from crying, y'all, because I say it in every video, and it just wasn't true. So thank you for coming. Enjoy what you see here. Come back and see what else I've got for you. God bless you. Bye now.